Hello, everybody, and welcome to Behind the Comics, where I tell you the stories of the comics I own and why you should, or shouldn't, own them yourself. My name is E. Christopher Clark, Chris Clark for short, and I run a site called geekforce5.com. Last time I talked to you about Captain America, Wolverine, Black Widow, Uncanny X-Men number 268, one of the first comics I picked up by myself, or asked somebody for $1 to buy. Don't you love those days when comics were $1? Today I want to talk a little bit about something I bought a few years later, when I was finally old enough, I was deemed old enough by the comic book shops that I shopped at. I picked this up a few years later. It's called Angry Christ Comics. It's by a guy, Joseph Michael Linsner. On the cover features his most famous creation, Dawn. And note the similarities. Redhead, Black Widow, redhead. I kind of have a thing. Anyway, this doesn't really feature Dawn. She was just a cover model for his comics up until this point. Shortly after this came out, he did a one-off called Drama, I think that's what it's called, where Dawn is introduced as a character in the story. When that originally came out, and when this originally came out, comic book shop said, "Nah, you're too young. It has boobies in it. None for you." But when I got old enough, I picked this up. And why do I think you should own this? It's got a great story about a vampire who can't get it up, so to speak. He's a miserable vampire. He's not very happy about it. There's nothing very romantic about this guy-esque. There's another story about a guy who's got AIDS and who purposefully puts pinpricks in the condoms he wears so that he can then give AIDS to other people. He uses it and it becomes sort of a predatory thing. There's another story about a guy who has 11 fingers, an artist. It's called 11 or 1. Trying to figure out what I can show you because I want to keep this relatively G-rated or PG-rated and not show any outright nudity here on the page. So there's a story about a guy with 11 fingers. There's a lot of religious imagery. At a certain point in my life, and still to this day, I guess, I am kind of a nut for religious stuff, even though I am a self-proclaimed atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call me. Some very weird, disturbing stuff in this book, and definitely worth your time because of that. Conformity is suicide. There's this great story about conformity. The art is great. The writing is great if you're into a certain kind of thing. And I definitely think it is worth you checking out. Angry Christ Comics. I'm not sure if this is still available. It came out from Sirius, and I don't think Sirius is still in business. So you might have to scour for it. It was $12.95 back in the day. I know Linsner works through Image Comics now, and he does have a website, linsner.com, so check it out. If you can find Angry Christ Comics, definitely worth a read. If you know me, ask me, and maybe I'll let you borrow it. For now, that's all. For Behind the Comics, I'll catch you next time on the flip side.